love it.
That's good.
So today, guys, this video is going to be about what qualifies as hypergamous dating and how does that function and how we actually go around mating. The video that we playing in the background is just some Dragon Ball Z Infinite World gameplay. Hope you guys like it. But on the topic, so oftentimes when I'm in this space, I hear black women say, "Oh, we've never been dating hypergamously. We've been quote unquote brainwashed not to." And to the uninitiated, to the unresearched, to the naive, that's a valid claim. Until you realize that hypergamy, the parameters of hypergamy change depending on the group and even species. So for example, on a species-wide level, there are types of penguins who they value hypergamy and status based upon how many shiny rocks a male has. Whereas with, let's say the peacock, their status in hypergamy is based upon how illustrious their plumage is. So if we look at the African American community, how does hypergamy play into that? Well, let's define hypergamy in a biological sense. Hypergamy is defined as the social climbing through mating and dating. Okay? Now, what gives a person their status is dependent on what that group defines as high or low status. I'll say it again. What gives a person their status is defined by that group's particular set of standards for status. And the reality is, status heavily dictates who is desired and who is sought after, not your resources. Resources play a part, of course, but your status and the perception of how your status interlays with those around you and those who you mate and date heavily impacts how you're approached, how often you're approached, and by who you're approached. This is why, for example, as much as Asian men fiscally and financially outclass white men and black men, Asian men are still the least picked and sought after group of men in America, because socially, the social status that a woman can attain from being with the Asian man is next to nothing. In fact, they gain nothing from being with Asian men socially, but they gain some kind of status or rank from being with a black man or a white man who make less than Asian men collectively. But back to what I was saying about how hypergamy and the status of how hypergamy works is specific to a group and isn't generalized. Within the black community, we have to accept and realize that the higher status within the black community is a man like Tupac. And the women view men like Tupac as a status symbol. And because they view men like Tupac as a status symbol, they date and they will mate with men like Tupac. Because within the community, that mating, that being in the proximity of a man like that, brings status to her. See, if dating men like Carlton Banks brought an elevation of status to a black woman, those men would be picked. But those men aren't picked. Throughout black culture, it's very clear that those men like that don't bring status to black women until those men pop off financially. or until other women get those men, or until those men date light-skinned women. Then all of a sudden, now being with those men brings a sort of status symbol. But collectively and regionally, men like Tupac are considered high status. And because that's how women date, because again, women, and not even women, just the female species in general, if you look at the hypergamous dating patterns and evolutionary biology, females don't date purely off of financial resources or barrier resources in general. They date off of the perceived status of that mate. You have in the animal kingdom with lions with the darker manes are considered of a higher status. You have it with deers, certain elks that have larger horns are perceived a higher status, but that only pertains to their group. Now, what black women are literally saying now is that within our group, how we perceived high status was big dicks and swag, was Tupac's, where outside and around them, they see other women who perceive high status as stocks and bonds and stability and safety nets. And they see the longevity and overall happiness of those women. And now they want to say, oh, well, we've never dated hypergamously. We've been told not to. No, you have. Based on your community standards of what higher status men are, you all have been dating hypergamously for a while. And you've gotten the results of those men that you value as a higher status. Other groups value high status differently. Particularly, they value men who would be, again, a Carlton Banks-like person as a higher status male, typically. But with black women, y'all view, again, the Tupac, the NBA Youngboy, the Future types, and women who think like y'all, who adopt y'all's mentality. I call the G virus. Women who have the G virus think of the same pattern as y'all do. They will date men who have big dicks and swag. They'll date men who don't show the proper training, don't show the incentivization, don't show the basic home training to be proper boyfriends or even husbands. And then we'll talk about, oh, I need to level up. I need to be hypergamous. You've been hypergamous. Those men, all men carry a certain status. It's just how that culture and the community view that man's status. In your community, men like Tupac, NBA Youngboy, those are the high status men. And those are who you flock to. That's why those men, NBA Youngboy in particular, have 5 kids? That's how those men, like Future, have 8 kids from 8 different women. No one tricked them. They knew. That's how y'all date. And the problem with how y'all date is that it creates a gene pool of degeneracy. Understand that the men you choose, the man you choose, has an irreversible effect on your well-being and the child you have with that man. Because this is basic biology. This is basic genetic inheritance. The best and most productive and most fit of a group are meant to survive and be carried on. When you choose the least productive, the least fit, and you carry their genes forward, you lower the available progress to your group. This is why y'all take it as us blaming y'all for everything. But the reality is, it all starts with who y'all pick, because we can't force ourselves on you. We can't do that. So who y'all pick is the first step to how anything gets better. And the fact is that y'all don't want to acknowledge that you guys have been picking poorly for decades. The perception of high value to you and high status to you is niggas who can't read or write. Is dudes who have to ask you for your car. But they give good dick though. Not the guy who's working his ass off. Or the guy who's in college. I live in Atlanta. I see college girls at Clark and Spelman fucking with D-boys. They have options. They just chose those men to them, even at that level, even at a college level, at historical black colleges. These women still view the Tupac and the NBA fanboy, and the NBA young boy types as a higher status man than the classmate next to them. So again, when they say they haven't been dating hypergamously, shut that shit down.
I'm not prepared yet.
They've been dating hypergamously for a while. Hypergamy isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. It changes from community to community, from species to species. It's just so the fact that with black women in America, high-value men are men who ain't shit. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what your favorite color is to see who watched this all the way through. Obvious disclaimers, because I already know what's gonna come. No, I am not gay. No, I do not hate black women. And yes, I was raised and know my father. Just say that you're scared to hold black women accountable and keep it pushing. All right? Because that's literally where all the comments from bitch ass niggas are gonna come. If you're a woman that finds this offensive, I don't know why, because unless you're a woman that dates ain't shit niggas or that's had kids by ain't shit niggas, this shouldn't apply to you. Therefore, you shouldn't be mad. Me speaking on this is not to bash black women or to attack black women, but to call out the bullshit, okay? You guys have the tendency not to date the best of black men. And then when those ain't shit niggas do you wrong, it becomes all our faults. Now, that's not to say that, all black men are one way or all black women are one way, but goddamn, in the community, y'all call these dudes educated lames. So I mean, clearly there's a lack of value being seen in them. That's all I'm saying. That's pretty much it, really. Because I know this topic is gonna get some kind of bullshit response. It usually does. And yes, to answer the question, I will talk about black men too. Okay. All right. Besides that, yeah. Bye.